switch back to like 20 years ago, what kind of advice would you give? Apart from like, saying like, invest in crypto and just get out of it, or like lottery numbers, none of that. But what other advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Maybe it might sound a bit like cliche or what, right? If I really get this chance to talk to myself 30 years ago, I will not tell him anything. Because I think everybody deserves this chance to experience life as it is. And I don't want to rob that away from that guy. Because knowing what I know now, for that guy, it might mess him out even worse than myself right now. Right? He might purposely not choose something that he truly loves. And he might not have the regret, but a meaningful kind of regret in a way that shape him in the future. So I will never change anything. I will still let him experience the life as it is. Only for him to 10 years later sit here and tell other people to not join the game industry. But yeah, he deserves the chance to experience that, yeah.
We often talk about the stories that shape us, the memories we hold, the people we love, the reality we live in every day. But what about the people who build new realities? We tend to look at video games and see the graphics, the mechanics, the high scores. We rarely see the heartbeat behind the screen. We don't see the sleepless nights, the scrapped drafts, or the piece of the creator's soul hidden in the code. Today, we're sitting down with game developer and designer Morby Lin. Morby isn't just a designer. He is a storyteller in the most interactive sense. We're going to dig into what it actually takes to breathe life into a digital void. We're talking about the isolation of creation, the joy of seeing a stranger smile at your work, and the very human journey of designing experiences for other humans. So plug in and get comfortable. The game has started. So Morby, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us here. Let's start with your name.
Okay.
Morby, that's a very unique and cool sounding name. Can you tell us like what's the story behind it?
My name comes from this word called morbid. So back then, right, when I was in school, I don't even know what this word is. My English sucks back then, right? And then I was in a band. I was starting to write lyrics. And then back then, like every kid is angry back then, right? So I was writing things about death, about godlessness.
Godlessness. Okay, that went serious. Okay.
Yeah, I know back then it's the cool thing to be defiant, right? Yeah. Band member, one of the guy, right? He's like, hey, damn, like this stuff is like, it's too morbid, man. It's like, you're like 16, right? And then I found out about what it is. And then that's the first time I know about that word. Something just connect with that word. Went into like poly. That's like 16. I was thinking about like, should I change the name? Because when I was in school, a lot of people mispronounce my Chinese name.
What is it like? Could you say that out for us?
I don't blame them. My Chinese name is Ying Jian. And then when you spell it together in English, right, the pinyin, when you put it together, the G and the J, it just mess up with people who, especially they don't Chinese, right? So when I was in poly, I remember I sit with this abang, and then he said, hey, hi, first day, he asked me, what's your name? I was like, my name is Ying Jian. He's like, I say, you want to call me like Morby? Because I replaced the I and the D and put a Y from the word morbid. It sounds like a name. It sounds cool to a 17-year-old. And then that's what we care about, right? It sounds cool, right? It's new, right? And then I was like, maybe you can call me Morby. And he's like, oh man, Morby better lah. Wah, Indian susah lah. And then I like, from then on, I was like, all right, man. Hey, man, it felt cool, right? When I get older, I sort of see other perks about having this name that's not in my IC. Like if I do something wrong, and then the newspaper is like, this guy just like broke the law. Everybody is like, who the fuck is this like Ying Jian guy, right? But he looks like Morby.
So the name Morby is not on any other legal documents, and like
it is not. But I used it like professionally for so long. I like that's what people know me as.
So people just know you as Morby. So let's talk about your inspiration and like your entry into as a professional, because you're a game designer. Would you prefer the term designer or any particular term that you like?
Game developer will be a little bit more fitting because development in general, that's where my passion lies. And then for people who understood, right, games is like filmmaking, it's like any other production work. It has like a lot of sub-disciplines, a lot of different departments, and need a lot of talented people to just come up with something. No matter how small the game is, how simple you might think it is, it's just many talents and skill set coming together as one. So when you say designer, it is the part whereby most people misunderstood. In outside of industry, when you hear this term game designer, you are thinking of somebody who built game. But the game designer in the industry are people who are doing most of the stuff that's not visual at all.
So they're like planning from the ground up type of a thing? Or?
Things that you don't think about, but when something is not fun, you are probably complaining about things that the game designer is responsible about, like the high score. If you play the character skills, character balancing, the pacing of the game, how difficult the game is, like all these stuff are just a tiny percentage of what designers are doing. Just under the designer itself, there are like level designers, there are like the economy designers, especially like the MMORPGs. Somebody needs to control how the economy moves. So I can't really say like a game designer. That's just like too specific.
The mechanics and all of that, that's under the umbrella of like designer. Like, okay, that's cool. And how did you get into this? Like, what was your calling? You're passionate about this, right? So how did it start?
I think to understand like how this whole thing happened, you gotta understand like I just turned 41 just this month. Back then, when the first time I played games, it was like the NES. Back then it was like it was even before Sega Mega Drive, that era, the golden age.
8-bit.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
because of the lack of internet, lack of like social media and stuff, lack of information in general, games development not even a concept for my little brain back then. So we just know that, hey, you plug in a cartridge and then something on the TV just reacts to your movement, to this tiny controller. We are not even thinking about how it's even happening. It's just like magic. Playing a game, loving games, has been like the bedrock of who I am today.
So back in the day when you were playing the NES games, was there like a particular game that stood out for you, like that made you like, wow, this is like amazing, and you wanted to create those kind of games?
Back then, right, surprisingly, when I was still young, when I still don't understand any of the things, right, those kind of games that like involves heavy strategy, like the Three Kingdoms related stuff, you have to like deploy your soldiers.
Strategy games type of a thing.
Wow, I want to do that back then, but it's just very intriguing to me. And then of course, like anything that looks cool in general, like
any particular game that is like you remember from NES is like 8 bits, right? So like you mentioned Mega Drive 16 bits, the graphics are better, but back in the day, 8-bit, you got like Super Mario Brothers, you like adventure of like Zelda, what else is there? Like Ice Climbers, or those type of games. Like, anything else you like from there?
If I want to particularly point one, like the Ninja Gaiden series.
Oh, Ninja Gaiden. Oh,
back then,
so difficult, those games.
Yes, because back then they haven't even really translated properly. So some people might still know it as Ninja Ryu Gaiden.
Did you remember the intro of Ninja Gaiden, the first one? Where that was, for me, was like a mind-blowing like moment, because games like Super Mario Brothers, you start off, you go from left to right and you jump on like enemies. But with Ninja Gaiden, that was an intro scene where you see like this giant moon in the field, two badass ninjas like standing, they're looking at each other. It's like the samurai movie, the ninja movies, right? And then they jump and ka-choo, and somebody falls down, and then suddenly it's so cinematic. It was amazing.
Yes, the one thing that stood out the most, like why it has such a why do I have such a deep impression, is kind of like even the music back then.
Yeah, the music.
And it's later on in my professional life when I revisited games that was done back then. The artists, the audio designer, the music designers, right? They are faced with such a huge constraint.
Yeah.
Like the amount of notes they
Which is a little thing that you have to fit it in.
The music, the cinematics, right? And the game itself feels cool, it's very responsive and things like this. These are the kind of things that if you don't go back to the roots, you don't really appreciate it right now.
For example, like you were mentioning how the game is, you have to fit in like 50 KB, right? Just to visualize it, these days, like on the internet, on a website, like, what is the equivalent of 50 KB? What does it look like?
There's this post that I saw that reminded me of this whole thing. So some guy, right, posted an image of a Super Mario Bros, the original version, and then said something like, sorry if I didn't get the number right? It's the post said something like, this PNG is about maybe 500 KB. The entire Mario game is like way less than it.
Wow.
I don't remember the actual number, but it's way less than that image, that screenshot of that image itself. So yeah, that's like really crazy, like how much constraint they were facing back then. Yeah.
This is in the 80s, or now within like, just less than 50 years, the technology has been like, it's just crazy. So that was the beginning. And as you got older, technology, our video games got like, much better, bigger as well. Any other particular game where that's sort of like a turning point for you where you're like, wow, we're at this and I want to be involved in creating such type of, art kind of thing?
Okay, Final Fantasy VII. So the first time I had like PlayStation, the first version, the PSX, it was the first time I think most people experienced what 3D games are. And because back then they're already running on CDs. Right now it's already ancient technology, but back then, gotta understand how cool it is to have a CD. For the first time, you see how character design, storytelling, and like full orchestra arrangements, right? And when the whole thing put together, it's like some of the most low-res characters in the world, but you're just so drawn to the whole journey. That was the thing that made me realize that how big a game can actually be. It's not just scores on the screen.
Yeah. So you were mentioning about like Final Fantasy VII, and it was spread, the story was so huge, the scope was so big that it was spread across like 3 CDs. I remember playing it, was like, oh, you have to change the CD now? Like, it's like a new experience for us as well.
Our younger audience right now is like, what do you mean change the CD?
Don't you install it? It's like, no, it's not like that. You have to like, play it to a certain part of the game, and then you have to like, it'll show up right on the screen like, please insert CD2 now. Oh, there's also one scene where it was the first time when you have like these cinematics that you see, and then you play the game, right? Final Fantasy VII was one of the first few games that mixed. You see a cinematic and suddenly, oh, I'm in control now. I'm supposed to play. So, that blew our minds like back then. So you're talking about games that, sort of like a turning point for you, make you even love the industry more and want to be part of it. What other games inspired you?
It's called Ragnarok Online. So it is an online RPG game. So it is the first time in my life that I experienced game and internet and the social part of it. It's my first MMORPG game. That game, right, made me realize with the moment you connect humans together over internet, right? And then it just opens up an experience that is like, it's very hard to achieve with just a single player. That game also has really good music. And then it's the first time I experienced what are like game balancing. How do you like make sure that every character is like balanced, So all these like slowly build up into the whole package of understanding what the possibilities of games back then.
That's pretty cool because you, to be honest, right, I play those type of games as well. But for me, playing those was just like, enjoying it. But I think you have that different type of mindsets when you start thinking about the mechanics and all that. Well, that's interesting.
Because back then it's a live service game, right? I still remember me and my poly classmates, right? Every week there's like a war. So everybody needs to log in at that time. And then for us, we are playing international servers. So it is like 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. So I have to wake up at like 5 a.m. I have to wear getting ready to go out because the moment the war ends, I have to leave for school. Right? It is a 1 hour travel for me. So I'm like wearing my jeans and everything at 5 a.m. and like waking up, right? With like red eyes and everything. Like I'm waiting for command and they're like, okay, you go there and then you go there, right? Like you got this place and wow. And then after the war ends, there's a huge bell. All of us just rush back to school and everybody go back to class, right? The whole of the class, we were just discussing what went wrong and everything, right? So that part of like in the game and outside of the game, that really made me understood like, no, game is just not about you and a screen, right? It is a lifestyle. It is like more than that, right? Little Fighter is just like 2D platformer game. It is still alive. They recently make a comeback. Because back then, games, right? When you install a game, they give you everything in a folder. Which means if you explore the folders, you can see the sprites, you can see the audio, you can even see the code if you want to. I have a computer. I don't even know what the hell is Photoshop yet. I know nothing, right? There's like MS Paint. That's about it, right? I downloaded the game. I tried to explore because I'm so like interested to know how it works. I found this folder called like characters. I double click and I saw, wow, the guy that I just played with, like doing like all the cool moves and everything. My first time in my life that I saw a spreadsheet. Like I still remember to this day, I was like, wow, so like it's like 8 frames for him to just throw a small punch. It's 8 frames. And from there, like I learned so much. I stare at it for hours, right? It's like, why is like these 2 frames has almost no difference, right? But when I try to remove a frame, and that's the cool thing, right? When you remove a frame, they will just like play as it is. So when I play again, I take away 1 frame, and then I just saw the guy disappear for a moment. And I was like, the power is in my hands. I think it planted this seed in my head that maybe I can do this someday. Because it is still in a day whereby games development and everything is still so far away. None of my friends or my parents or whoever knew anyone at all. Games development is like a myth.
Right.
Like, for my little mind back then, right? It just planted something so deep in me. Yeah. And these 3 games, I think, taught me like the possibilities of games, and probably the last one taught me about the possibility of I can actually be involved.
Yeah, that's very interesting because like for Little Fighter, for you, it's like, the curtains being lifted and you see how things operate. It's like the Matrix type of thing. You're like, oh my goodness, this is how it works. And then you think like, oh, maybe I can do this and be part of it. So what did you do after that? Like, did you start pursuing or trying out, like even drawing and trying to animate? What was your journey like after that?
When I first played that game, if I remember correctly, I was like maybe 13 or 14, right? We've all finished O-levels. And at that time, you got to know that games development or developer in general, it is still a concept that didn't even exist in my brain. I didn't even know it's even possible at all. But then, when I was waiting for my poly, a friend of mine just reached out, like, hey, like you kind of like, you draw some cool characters, right? I see you drawing a lot of cool characters. I'm kind of good back then, without the social media telling me how bad I am. So I believe that I'm good, right?
Remember social media days? Yeah, okay.
So I live in my own world. Maybe it's for the better, right? So my classmate is like, hey, I know a bunch of guys. They're like Amokyo, like they're there. They're doing games. You want to join us?
They're doing games in Amokyo?
I was like, what? Can I? You gotta know. I don't even know what Photoshop is.
Right.
My computer is like a very old computer. I don't even know how to bring like whatever I drew on paper.
So were we just sketching? You were just sketching on paper?
I was just sketching like knockouts of like Dragon Ball Z, like some Hong Kong comic book characters. It was really quite bad. I'm not trying to be humble, but there was no internet to tell me otherwise, right? So I was like, hey, sign me up, man. I think that's the beginning of how my chaotic life, I think, I just say yes without thinking.
Wait, so I want to know more about these guys making video games in Amokyo. Could you tell us a bit more? This sounds super interesting.
Okay, so unfortunately, I don't even remember their names. I think some of them were in a games studio somewhere, and then he wanted to build his own team. And back then, right, I don't even know what a game engine is. I don't even know that you needed code. I'm just a guy who drew on paper, and then someone said, hey, your characters looks cool. Let's join us, right? So I went there knowing nothing. And then the guy is like, telling me he has this idea he wanted to build and like an MMORPG, and then he need an art director. I was like, for a 17-year-old, he's like,
Oh, you were 17. Oh, goodness.
Like, yeah, I can do this.
Did you try a bit with them?
Yeah, so what happened was like, eventually there was some prototypes, and then I drew some characters. They scanned it into the computer. I started learning how to use Photoshop for the first time. I think everybody got their own commitments, and then the group just started to meet less and less. But that was like the very, very first time. So even before my poly started, when I was like late 16, early 17, I already like got exposed to this. So I have that impression. But after that, school happened, then NS happened, right? So for that whole period of time, games development is just totally not in my head anymore. But that period of time, especially that little game that I played, it just planted that seed that later on came back and haunt me for the rest of my life till now. Yeah.
I mean, you're being humble saying like your drawings were like really bad back then. But, we also found out that you designed quite famous, like 2 characters for Singapore in 2010. Could you tell us a bit more about that? I'm going to say out the names. It's like Lyo and Merly, right? The mascots for Singapore, the Youth Olympics. How did that came about? Like, how did your designs like got chosen to be these?
I was in this studio called Red Eye Studios. It was a games development studio. There's a long story about that thing, but the studio still exists, but I think it's a very different company right now. So back then, I was there. I was like the most junior possible role you can imagine. I was just there like resizing images and everything, right? But because I drew a lot of cuter characters, and I started to learn some professional techniques from the guys there who are very generous to teach me. They were building something that's like very serious. It's a hardcore game they were trying to build. And the characters are all like big Blizzard characters. They were all hardcore characters, bloody, muscular old man.
Very more mature looking stuff. Like, okay.
Studios with artists is not very common. And then when there was an open pitch for any game studios or any art studios to like design mascots for the Youth Olympics, it was the first Olympics game that Singapore hosted, right?
Right.
you can draw cute characters, right? We have no time for this at all. Unfortunately, do you want to like try? Let's try it, right? I was like, all right, yeah. I say yes without thinking. That's how what became of me. So I tried. Now that I think about it, right, back then it didn't occur to me, but it's quite an honor to be able to contribute.
It's also, was it like a pitch or?
Yes.
So you had to compete against other.
Yes, it's an open pitch for.
Oh, and then you got chosen. Do you know like roughly how many studios you were fighting?
Unfortunately, no. But many years later, I was working with another guy, a business partner, and then he didn't know that I was the guy who drew the characters, right? He just happened to talk about that period. He's like, back then, our company, we pitched for that, right? And then some random asshole just won this shit, man. Like, look at the design, it's not even good, right?
Poly and NS, and once you're back from NS, how did you finally get into the industry itself? Like, how was your way in?
The last year of Poly, we were in internship, right? And then in that internship, I was attached to a company dealing with mobile games. And when I say mobile games, like for the audiences, right, it is not like a smartphone. So back then, right?
What?
Yeah, they were doing games on feature phones, like on Nokia, the Nokia era.
Right.
So the most luxurious, biggest screen out there is 128 by 128. That's the biggest resolution. For comparison, for those people who are not familiar with technical terms, right now, if you look at your iPhones, right, an icon is 2048 by 2048 pixels. Biggest screen is 128 by 128. Technology has moved quite a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was there, I was resizing logos and I was doing things like
To
that.
fit on the mobile screen.
Yeah, I was working with someone that he did a startup. We were trying to do some games, some web design, like everything, right? And we shared the studio with this Red Light Studio that I spoke about just now. And that's how I got to know the real deal, like the people who are doing the real games out there. I just saw how good those guys were. And my skill set, because mine based before I even went into things like UI, UX and everything else, right? I was still like just a character artist and animation and everything, right? Like just like plainly speaking, right? It's like I just want trying to be thick-skinned to like just get them to teach me something. Because I know that if I miss this chance, I don't know where else I can go. You got to know back then, there's no YouTube, no new tutorials, right? There's no, hey,
No self-help stuff on the internet.
getting in 20 steps, just join my course. Like, that's nothing, right? So I still remember that day very, very clearly. I waited until everyone went home. And then I saw the boss of Red Eye Studio. And I was like, in the dark alley, I just jumped out. I was like, hey, I don't know how to say this, but I need you to teach me how to do this. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say this. There's no introduction. There's no, like please teach me, man.
Right.
And the
So
guy,
that's how it really went down. Well done, sir.
because I was just so overwhelmed by how good they were and how little knowledge I have to even get close to it. I was doing some graphics and I was doing some basic stuff, but it's just so far from what they were doing, so professional. And the guy's like, he's still holding a cup of coffee and he's like, oh, okay. Like he's a very chillax kind of guy. It's like, oh, all right, I got some time. And he put down his coffee and then I was expecting maybe it's a 50-minute introduction. He says, hey, you got to work hard on this. You got to like believe in yourself. No, I thought it's going to be like this, right? But he opened up my stuff. He took my characters that I was drawing. He's like, oh man, this sucks, man. Oh, that sucks, man. And then he just drew on top of my character. He changed some colors. He used techniques that I have never seen in my life. And in that less than 5-10 minutes, right, my very entry level, like a very noob level characters, right, suddenly look kind of like, hey, well, I can see where this is going. It's already having that kind of like effect, the kind of polish that I had. It's just a few strokes from that guy. And then he told me that rendering is like it can mask a lot of mistakes, but the true understanding, the fundamentals, is the one that you really have to learn. I learned too much of anime stuff. I was seeing things as lines, as a flat surface. He told me like, hey, you really got to learn how to see anatomy. You got to see shapes in 3D spaces. He taught me so much in that one single day. It became like almost 3 hours conversation. Yeah, so that is the beginning of like breaking that wall that actually I can actually do something like this. And then fast forward from there, to get back to the question, I eventually joined the company as the junior person.
Wow.
And eventually had opportunities to do like the Youth Olympics mascot. I learned so much from them. So that is like the beginning of doing it professionally, I guess.
So interesting that you actually stalked the guy. Again, like I mentioned, the initiative is like crazy. So it worked out for you. I wouldn't say like, we would recommend that to everybody, but
Don't stop people at the dark alley, please don't.
I mean, that does show your passion about the games and like, so you were never taught like, you never studied like how to draw. It's just more of like self-taught for the techniques and like the characters.
Actually, till now, I have not taken any professional course in like characters drawing or everything.
It's just in you that you are.
When I met the guys at Red Eye Studios, there was more than that guy. That's the boss of that Red Eye. There was so many international artists.
Oh,
I learned so much from them. Yeah, still very grateful because all the things that I learned during that short period of time I was in Red Eye, it is still the fundamental of what I'm doing nowadays.
when you started off drawing and you were inspired by like, anime, manga, is that why you started drawing the characters?
So the manga and anime stuff is because you remember the Amokyo guys?
I think we're all gonna remember the Amokyo guys.
Every time I go into a room, it's all full of cigarette smokes. And then as a 17-year-old, I'm taking
Is it in a flat or like an office?
a HDB flat, yeah. It's not a studio. And they're all chilling with cigarettes. And I was like, one guy, like, oh, they were like, hey, the guy's like puffing. He's like, I think I kind of like your stuff, but there's no style, like not trendy. That like I don't know what this is. It's good, but I don't know what this is. You want to try maybe anime characters? That is the first time I heard the word anime/manga. It's the first time. And because of that, I went to study like what it is. I just thought that
He started reading it.
thought like it's just big eyes and then like colorful hairstyle, and then it opened my eye to a world itself, a universe by itself, how difficult it is to get those. So you gotta know that before I reach out to the team at Red Eye, I'm like in a mess, like in terms of skill. Like I was trying to do like big scary characters, but I'm too influenced by like the anime style.
So you were just more like kind of like inspired and copying some of the characters. What was there like any particular character or anime that was like your reference point? Like what were you reading?
A lot of people my age probably started with the most famous manga back then is the Dragon Ball Z, and then if you read like Chinese comics, it's the Feng Yun. So that's all we have. Slam Dunk, that era.
Chunk.
Yeah. So a lot of those anatomy, like how character is drawn, all of them have angry eyes. It's all from
Muscular, very sharp features
Right.
and all this.
So I lost a lot of good time because there's no proper coaching. No one around me is an artist. Spent a lot of time doing really sub-quality stuff, and I didn't know. And everyone around me was just telling me that, hey, it's good, and I was naive enough to believe it. Yeah.
No courses here in Singapore back then, like where to learn how to draw. Only fine art stuff, maybe.
Yes, back then. And then game production is so unheard of. I think I found some like internet, I wouldn't even call influence. This term don't even exist. Someone posted her work. It was really good. I just reached out, right? What, nothing to lose, right? Hey, can you give me some pointers? And then 2 to 3 emails, she gave me some pointers. Yeah, so forever grateful to this kind of like little helps that I get everywhere. Yeah.
Even though you're like super, passionate about this, did it ever occur in your head that you wanted to really study like, at a university for drawing or art or stuff like that? Why didn't you pursue like that?
So diploma is the highest education I have. And the biggest reason is because when I was thinking about what I should study next, right? Shortly after NS, I went into that startup first and everything. And then it was Red Eye. So like my life just back to back, hands-on, and I straight away saw the professionals and everything. And when my parents finally asked me, hey, actually, do you want to like consider further studies, right? And back then, right, the things that I really wanted to learn is already something to do. It's more than just artwork and everything. It's about ad building. It's about building a game or something. And from my knowledge, there was no one course that really taught about that in particular. So there are like pure art school. There's like digital art.
Teach you all this, right?
Then to me, I was just thinking about just app building, how to earn money, doing apps, doing programs, right? I was thinking, hey, maybe, I just work a little bit more and then experience more until I know what I want to study. And then till now,
that never happened, right? Like, I guess, once you get into the old machine, this rat race, you keep on working, earning, just think about the rent or, the monthly expenses. Speaking about that, we also heard that you, on top of being a game developer and designer, you're sort of like a serial entrepreneur. How many startups or entrepreneur journeys have you had so far?
I think this is a little bit outside of just games development already. So I always wanted to build something. like it's just forever in my head. I just wanted to build something, and it's not that I really hated a 9 to 5 job, but I'm just so intrigued by wanting to build something from scratch, learning how to put things together myself. And I think I enjoyed that part a little bit more than like being a useful little gear in a whole machine, right? So that's why I think I'm always drawn to like taking risks, starting something. So till now, I think I have at least 12 to 14 failed ideas. Some of it became a company, some of it died at that idea stage.
So what was your first startup like? Well, what was your first thing?
The moment I came out from army, so me and 2 other people, one of them was the one I met when during my internship in that mobile games company. And then back then we were trying to do a game, but at the same time we were trying to like service client, do some web designs and things like that, right? Eventually I met different people. Some people want to build the game together. Some people wanted to start a web agency together. I even met people who wanted to start a school. When those private schools were still not very popular back then, I was already working with some people who was like, hey, let's do a school that focus on skill set around games development. Yeah, that was the golden era of games development. Singapore's government had a lot of support. 2011 was the year that I started my own game studio. It was one of my most successful entrepreneurship projects back then. Yeah,
First big pot of gold.
the first one that actually eventually became a company and eventually started earning money. So the whole thing lasts for about 7 years.
Wow.
So
What's it called?
yeah, my company is called Mojo Forest.
You guys did the two fuse game and the like.
There's a lot of stuff that we did. SG50. SG50 back then there was some like open pitch for games developers to do games that is like themed after the SG50. So we were one of the lucky few to get selected. And then we built a game called Rickshaw Rush. You are controlling a rickshaw to run around iconic places in Singapore. You have to pick up the famous people, both modern and both the forefathers and everything, right? You have to pick up Tan Tock Seng, you have to pick up like Gurmit Singh, a lot of these historical people, artists. And when we do research about who we can include, it's just such a difficult thing to do because there's so many talented people with like contributions in all sorts of ways, in arts and music, politics and everything, right? We just have to pick a few, and that was like pretty difficult, but it was a very enriching experience.
Wow. So that game, it's for mobile phones? It's an app kind of a thing? Or is it still playable? Or
Okay, the thing about apps on the App Store and everything, right, is that they require some kind of like maintenance and upkeep because they constantly update their platforms, their OS. So games that usually 1 to 2 years, if you did not update with the latest plugins or keep up to date, right, I got a feeling the game's probably dead by now. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
that's sad to hear, man. From your company, that big success, what was the most successful game that you guys created during that time?
So the most successful game will probably be this game called Two Fuse. It is a like action puzzle game. We call it the match 2 game because you have to like match 2 colors and numbers quickly, and then you upgrade them in a way, and then you keep doing it until you get to like the level 3, and then you just burst into score. So that whole game, right? I think it blew up in the Philippines. Yeah, it is so popular over there that the schools are doing their orientation day and everything using our game. We had fans telling us that, hey, we are using your game in our school events. And then we hook up with some people over there. There's some girl band over there. And then they use them to help us do some advertisement of the game itself.
Oh, wow. That's
So
like,
yeah,
you went international. Like,
that is also the only game in my life I saw someone on the street playing it. It's the one and only. I think it's a domestic worker, I think.
how did you feel? Like, what that moment, like, bring us back to that when you were just like seeing
it's,
somebody play.
I never knew that this day would come because like I know the amount of users we have is not like millions on millions of no, I mean we did hit a few million players, but in this massive market, 1 million is so small. The number is so small, right? So I still remember one day in the MRT, I just went in and then I'm still taking the MRT, so you know financially how game development is, right? I'm still taking the train and everything, Cai Fan, you know, and then so like I think either she's a domestic worker or but I think she's speaking Tagalog, so I think she's from Philippines. Then she's like taking out her phone and she played Two Fuse. I was like, wow, holy hell, that's how it feels like for someone to be playing that game, and I'm standing behind her, she don't even know, and then she's like pretty good at it, right? And I'm like, wow, that feeling, I guess, is just it just made me suffer the fate for the rest of my life, wanting to try to get there again, I think. Yeah.
They call it chasing the dragon. You never forget your first, and you keep chasing that.
At that moment, I just feel like, wow, this is way better than $1 million, in my pocket. But now that I look back, $1 million might be better, but for
$1 million thing. So after Mojo Forest, was that the last one that you tried, or did you try anything else after that?
I think the best description of games development or games in general is kind of like a toxic girlfriend. There's no better way to describe it. It's like when we get together, it's fun. It's like I had fun. We all have fun. But it just messed up my life so much in so many different ways.
Oh, no.
And like after that, we are like, hey, we should stop seeing each other. Yeah, we both agree that, hey, it is not healthy for all of us, right? And then after a few months or a few years, sometimes, right, hey, she will message me, hey, you want to like, meet for a coffee? Like, I know it's wrong, right? Like, I know, no.
Yes, anyway.
And then we were like, hey, it's just a coffee, right? Just a coffee, right?
Yeah.
And then like I get into an adventure with another guy, started building a new game, I started a new company or join a company, and it's like, And so after Mojo Forest, it was 7 years of my life. At the very end of it, I had so little money that I remember vaguely that, and in another 1 or 2 months, I will be zero. That's my entire net worth. I have no investment. I have no property under my name.
Even after 7 years, it was just like...
Yeah. So we had a lot of success, but right, the last few years, right, we were just too in the mercy of the editorial board from the Apple App Store and the Google.
Okay.
Because if they don't feature our game, we don't have hundreds of millions of dollars to do marketing, the growth for our game. So we have to build the game, and while it is fresh, it depends heavily on whether the editorial team feature us somewhere. And once they feature us, you can get like 5 digits of downloads per day. And once they stop featuring us, it can drop to like five downloads a day. That's how crazy it is back then.
For your game to fuse, right? I'm sure it has like a lot of people playing and some content creators, even though back then they're not known as that. If they upload on YouTube and all that, I think there's like one video that got like over 132K views. Does that affect you guys in any way? Did you get any money out of it? Or did you upload your own videos?
Yes, we did, but it's totally not in the way that we understood nowadays, right? Everything is KOLs, everything is influencer.
Labubu as well, right? Like, this guy was doing it for years and suddenly it was Lisa. Like, okay.
Back then, I think game streaming and everything is still kind of in a very early stage. I don't remember. It's just not part of our strategy.
Right. So you never monetize on like, views and YouTube views and all that stuff. Okay.
It's kind of like a pity because back then when we got such a huge success for Two Views, the team is still learning about the craft itself, right? So I think, if I would say so, I think we mastered the part of like making the games like fun, reactive and everything, right? But the business side of stuff, the numbers part of it, right? To how to actually extract value from it, from the users, we were still really experimenting, so we didn't really catch the wave back then. So even though Two Views, I would say that it's one of my most successful titles back then, but in terms of revenue, it's not the strongest. I have other games that bring in more revenue than the game itself. Yeah.
So you mentioned that after 7 years of Mojo Forest and the success and the ups and downs, how did you get back onto the wagon after that? Well, what was it that got you back on the wagon of like, game development?
So after Mojo Forest, I joined another full-time job. After that full-time job, it's also a huge burnout for me.
Well, what were you doing at the full-time job? Was it related to your game development or?
Yeah, it is a games development studio, but I couldn't share too much about that job. So, but it's a full-time job. It is games development. It drains so much out of me, like in terms of energy, mentally, everything. It drains so much. So when I came get out of that second job, right, after Mojo Forest, right, I was like, the toxic girlfriend analogy. Yeah, I was like, we really shouldn't see each other anymore. I really think it's not healthy for all of us, right? And then I was about to get married. At that point of time, I was like, I need a proper job. I need something stable, something that don't like make me lose my sleep and everything, right? So I decided like, okay, my next job, it cannot be games related. That was the in my memory, that was the third time in my life I was like, I don't want to do games anymore. And then fate has it that I met somebody. Someone told me that, hey, there's this games company hiring some guy, your profile fits. I was like, no, like F, okay, no. And then it's like, hey, you never know, man. Like, just meet them. Even if you want to say no, just meet them, right? Okay, I met them and then I joined that company.
And what happens?
And then 7 years later,
Well, another 7.
yeah, another 7 years.
Oh, that's not too bad.
That was the third time I said I wanted to quit, and I joined a games company. And I just left my previous employment. So right now I'm still looking for a job. But after these 7 years of employment, that is the most recent one, last year, June, I told all my friends, I told my wife, everyone, guys, I'm not going to do games anymore. It's not working. I call my toxic girlfriend, please delete my number. I don't want to do games anymore. I can't do this anymore.
But with this latest company, it's more of like, were you part of the core group or were you just an employee?
My latest employment, I was like part of the team. I joined as a full-time employee.
But it's like 7 years, a pretty good like run, like it's not too bad.
In a startup, you wear multiple hats. So what kept me in that company for so long is because I got exposed to so many things outside of just developing the game itself. Like the management skill, people skill, like doing proper pitches for investors. It's just outside of like the games development part of it. So I learned so much. That's why I like stayed there for so long. Yeah. But end of the day, it's still games. It is still entertainment. It's still a product, right?
Right.
I just feel like maybe I should look at things that has more real world impact. Like you see, like a doctor, right? You're saving lives, right? So I was thinking, can I use this skill set somewhere, and also kind of like a little bit of like, I've been doing it for so long, right? Maybe I should look at something else,
Does it come with age also? As you get older, you feel like you want to like be doing something that's more impactful.
I will never forget that night. I was like, I was doing, because professionally, I'm a UI UX designer, right? So I was like adjusting some like buttons, frames, And then at that moment, I know that, oh, damn, I will be 40 years old soon. It's like a few days to my birthday. I was 39. I'm like, can I do this for another like 40 years of my life? Like adjusting buttons and everything, right? Maybe I'm downplaying my job. It's way more than that. But it's really at that moment, I was like, I don't think I can execute anymore. Like I can't just be doing like UI forever, right? And I'm 40. How many good years do I still have in my life? At that moment, I was like, I called my toxic girlfriend. I was like, hey, let's not do this anymore. I can't do games anymore. Let's think about something that is more maybe stable. I would say that point that I feel like for the fourth time in my life, I wanted to quit the game industry so bad, But fast forward, after I left the company, I met up with some ex-colleagues. We were talking about possibilities and we set up a games company. It's not a company yet. We set up another team. We were like, hey, let's just do games, but let's do it part-time, all right? Like take it as a hobby, take it slow,
Not as a business, but as a...
Yeah, like take it slow. Let's do our best work.
So you're still doing that now?
Yeah.
Still... You said you're going to quit your ex...
For the fourth time, yes. But hey, it's not full-time. I didn't register a company yet. So I can still say that it's a hobby. It's not like my full-time. At the time of this recording right now, it's not a full-time thing. Yeah, so it's a toxic girlfriend. She's back.
Oh no, she's back. You also mentioned like you tried different like entrepreneurships and you used the word fail, but even for Mojo Forest, 7 years, I wouldn't consider that as a failure type of a thing. But overall, like what I want to find out from you is like, there's this like quote that I like from this movie Rocky Balboa. It was saying like it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, and how much you can take and keep moving forward. What inspires you to keep coming back? Is it just plain old stubbornness, or because your passion burns way more than like you're letting out right now?
If I want to be extremely realistic here, I wouldn't say that it's like passion that keeps me going and things like that. It's a skill set that I enjoy doing. It's a skill set that I think thankfully I'm good at. So when I think about all the possibilities of how do I, like when I think about retirement, I think about like days before I die. I think about this a lot, right? My retirement and everything, right? I really need that financial freedom. I need some like passive income. And if I just keep being an employee somewhere, I can never achieve that. Like I want to be realistic. I can't achieve that. There's nothing wrong, right? If someone is watching this and then you have a job and you're happy about it, there's nothing wrong. But to me, I just feel like, can I can I like earn so much, like maybe a substantial amount of money that I can invest, and then it becomes like a passive income? Then can I really just do whatever I like doing, and then without worrying about my finances? So why I keep doing it again and again is really just the most realistic and most achievable, because I know the numbers, I know how to get there.
And then you know that you're good at it as well.
I mean, the people, my players can be the judge, but yeah, but I enjoy doing it, you know. And that's like the only way I know how, outside of like a lottery.
Face a lot of burnout, self-doubt and all that? Or have you ever? Or you just like, you're super confident, like, I know how to do this. It's just like, I got to keep on doing it.
Definitely. But the scary part is like the burnout, I don't realize it until pretty late stage in my life. You know, I gotta be honest, for the longest time, I keep thinking that when people say that they are stressed, no, they are burnout, I keep thinking that those are the weak people. You know, their mind is weak, right? So I always tell myself that, nah, I'm not stressed, I'm not burnout. Like, I can do this, I just need a short break, I can come back, right? But it is when you start to take a really long, meaningful break, right? And when you're about to get back, that physical pull, and then it's really physical, right? You feel like you don't want to get out of bed and everything, right? And then I had chest pains for a really long time, and all this stuff, right? And then like permanent headaches, right? 90% of the time I'm awake, right? So all this, I just kept thinking that maybe I just need to sleep more during the weekend, you know, or maybe I need to eat a bit healthier, I need to exercise. But later I realized that all these are all stress, it's result of stress related. Yeah, true. Because in games development, especially, maybe for my case, right, it's always deadline. It's always based on the deadline. Everything you do is driven by deadline, driven by objectives. It's not like we sit down and do something fun. No, it's always there's a target, there's KPIs to meet and things like that, right? So late nights and OTing and everything, it's just something that we got used to. Yeah.
Part and parcel, but it's not supposed to be like that.
Correct, right? Like,
accepted it.
I'm not trying to say that this is what game industry is, but a lot of my friends in the industry are facing the same kind of lifestyle. So yeah, you got to find your own balance, I guess. Yeah.
And I know that you're married. You got a kid as well. So
Yeah.
what kind of support you get from your family for you to be able to do this as well?
Well, I'm still paying my bills. Financially, I'm still responsible for the same amount for whenever I wanted to start a new project or I want to take a long break or whatever. My number one rule is, as long as financially I can support it without any changes, it's not like we suddenly have to like eat nothing for a month or what, right? As long as my lifestyle can sustain, full support from my family. So I'm quite thankful for that. Yeah.
Did it change when you had your kid as well? Like your mindset, especially now you have an extra amount. Plus, you got to take care of this baby until at least 18, right? So did that make you change the way you see things or try to do business and even work as well?
This whole responsibility thing and the additional member into the family, right? It definitely contributes, I would say directly, to me thinking that I probably should change to an industry whereby maybe it pays a little bit better. I mean, it's just the truth, right? Because games at the end of the day is still an entertainment product. If you compare this to something like finance or something, right? The industry just pays a bit more. It's just the cold hard truth. It's the fact. So when I think about this, I'm like, for the same amount of energy, the same amount of effort, can I get paid a little bit more and things like that? And I always come back to game because for the extra few dollars per month in my salary versus a small possibility that maybe one of my game can actually hit it, right? Plus,
Make it big.
even higher reason than the financial freedom thing, right? To prove to myself that I can do it, you know? Like, it's a craft that I love. I'm a gamer myself. I play a lot of games. I love the art of games production. I just really love how everyone, they are so talented. And then all their artwork and all their works come together into one. Like, the whole production thing is just so meaningful and inspires me every time to this day. It's like, above all this reason, if I can just prove that I know enough and I can execute a very successful game that helps me achieve that financial freedom, the financial freedom part is more like a KPI, I think. It's just a way to say that, yeah, I did it, right? I think that is like, I would do it until the day I die, I guess. Or die trying, yeah. There's no better way.
But you are trying to quit as well, which is sort of like a little bit of like, you know, a dilemma that you're facing. But if you, let's say, you do successfully manage to get rid of that toxic ex-girlfriend, as you mentioned, what would you end up doing? What would you want to do?
So over the years, as a game developer and entrepreneur, right? I think the part about connecting with people is very meaningful for myself. To be really honest, I don't have this specific industry that I want to be in. But if I can continue meeting people, continue working with people who are very talented, be in this sort of like environment where people are just so talented, you are just so inspired by people, and I get the chance to inspire others. Anything that has this, right? I think I can be doing anything.
Well, yeah, you mentioned what you're mentioning right now is more like the environment and the kind of people you want to work with. But you personally, like, what would you want to be doing? Like, would you want to be drawing? Would you want to be talking to people? You want to be organizing things or managing? Or what kind of stuff?
So this is that part whereby I guess is the most in tune with the theme of this podcast, right? If I have all the time in the world, with all the finances to support it, I will be building games.
Right. So let's talk about the future of these developments, and especially as an artist, the big elephant in the room, which is AI. How do you feel about it? And like, where do you think? I mean, we have to ask this, especially for us in this creative kind of like industries and artists and all of that. We need to talk about this and see, like, what, like, where do you think? How do you feel about it first, and then where do you think that it is headed?
Okay, so I talk about this topic very frequently, and probably gonna offend some audiences or viewers, right? So I totally understand, because in terms of AI. And I'm speaking this more in terms of the generative AI part, the creative, the visual part, right? This is the part that I'm more familiar with. So the general that are really going to kill us, I'm not going to talk about that, right? So just purely creative work out there. AI can create characters. They can do design in seconds.
Props, right?
Professional level design, right? So to understand this whole AI thing and how I think about it, I think I need to share about where the hate is coming from. The first group are the people who feel that AI is trained on other people's work. So they felt like without permission,
Like
without
stealing in a way, right?
without their permission, without them getting a cut from of the money that the AI companies are earning, their stuff are used for training without their permission. And then now people are stealing their work, and then they are earning all the money, they got nothing out of it. It just feels wrong to be stealing work. So that's one camp of the hate. The other camp comes from just pure fear, if you ask me. From like, I've been doing this my whole life, and then now people can create it in 3 seconds and for free.
So you become obsolete.
Yeah. So the first camp, I can empathize with that group because their artwork is being stolen and things like that, right? But the funny thing is that if it is another guy, is a human, he's just really good at using other people's artwork and then copying the exact same artwork. As long as the artist is not pretending to be the original artist, people are fine. And some people even feel that, hey, I feel good that he's using my style, right? But the moment it is being used so effectively, it's fast, it's free, right? And then suddenly it becomes like a problem. Parts of me, I have empathy with the people. I empathize with them, right? Like, yeah, I understood like this is like kind of like stealing. But the other part of it is like, you just have to like, okay, you're angry about it. Then what, So that is the part whereby, do you want to continue to hate on it? Or just use it to your own advantage instead, right? Okay, so that's the one part of it, right? Understanding that there's really nothing you can do about it. The other group that is that I talk about, they are afraid that their job is going to be stolen by AI, right? That group is very easy to explain. Those people who openly say that they're taking our job is soulless and everything, right? They have never used AI in production work before, because any artist at any level were to try to use AI for production work, they will understand that, oh man, you still need somebody who knows how to operate it like a tool. You still need to do the proper prompting, and then after the prompt, how do you apply it to the actual product? And then how do you organize the work? What kind of tools to use? It's not like one Gemini and you get the whole game done. There's so many different tools that are good at different things. So for people who are using this on daily basis, like myself included, you will understand as of now what are the limitations of it. So it's, in the end, AI is still a tool. You still need someone with vision to execute it. Yeah.
But what about the artists where, for some of the smaller companies, startups, they need an artist to draw the characters, but they don't want to pay or hire an artist, and they just use AI to come up with their new characters. Even though, like, yeah, you still need to prompt and all, but that could be done from the ideation guy and who knows how to like, put the prompts in. So the artist will become obsolete as well.
Yes, correct.
Are you kind of like fearful or like, are there concerns about this for you?
For me or for those people in general?
For you as well, like,
I think this ties to the second group that I spoke about. So because I use the tool a lot myself, I understood where the limitations are, which is why as of this recording right now, because AI grows so fast,
Yeah.
I'm still needed. I'm still not obsolete yet because I still need to face the client. I need to understand the context. I need to know what they need. Maybe the execution part is speed up by a lot. Sometimes I use AI, sometimes I don't. But the fact that you need to understand the context and give them exactly the right thing, that is the part that I think AI as of now cannot replace yet.
Right.
So I'm not that afraid myself as of now. Yeah.
So you might not be physically drawing it yourself, but it's more like you would still have like an important role in creation. Okay. Gotcha.
If there's any artists out there or creatives out there who feel like, wow, AI can 100% replace me, then it is not an AI issue. It is even if AI don't exist, right? You are just waiting for the next technology, if not AI, to replace you entirely.
I think it's also like, some people are hating on it because the big corporations, like AI corporations, they're super rich, right? Like they're earning a lot from this. And they are, in a way, like phasing out, making obsolete the real artists who are struggling. Artists always been struggling, right? Like you don't hear like a super rock star artist who gets like, $1 million for one drawing type of a thing. So I think that's where the art and the finance, there's always this little like head to head going on. It's happening. But yeah, you're correct. Like right now, AI is not there yet, but maybe in like a year or two.
When that day comes, I think maybe I would think very differently. But
I have like a different opinion about this.
The first camp, like the technology is like moving. So what are you gonna do about that, right?
For our last question, let's I want to talk about as we get older as well. You're early 40s now. We often think about legacy. What we leave behind, where not just an artist, but it's more of in life as well. And now you have a kid. How would you want your legacy to be from the perspective of your kid? How do you want your kid to see you as a dad and remember you as a dad?
So I think there's two parts of the question. The first one is how I think I want my son to see me, and the other one is what kind of legacy I feel like I want to leave behind, right? So I just talk about the legacy part, right? So long ago, I think before I became a dad or really think about this, right? I always thought that leaving behind legacy means you have a movie that everyone know you for, like, or you are so famous and then people remember you for your movies, for your work, your games, or you are just really rich, or things like that, right? But then now I feel like a legacy is less of like what you did. It's more of like how you live life, how you face life every day. I guess that links to the second part of it, which is like how I want my son to see myself. I just want him to know that he should see me as a person who just tries his best at everything. And that's good enough, right? No matter the outcome, no matter what you achieve, if you learn something, the journey is meaningful, you try your best in things you do, you are sincere about things you do, you respect others, I think that's good enough. It's just a way of life, more of like, oh, my dad did this, I want my son to remember me as like, so this way of life, the way I see life, the way I live life, my attitude towards this whole thing, the challenges and everything, that's the legacy that my dad left behind.
Just to add on to that, like, let's say your kid grows up and he's around like 20-year-old, what kind of lessons would you tell him, like, from what you've learned in your life?
Maybe don't join the game industry. Go become an insurance agent or sell property.
Get into banking. Get into bank. That's what I keep telling myself as well. It's like, should have got into banking,
You can play games if you are rich and you have a lot of time, right? You don't have to build games, man. You can just play it.
We need builders. We need builders. How else can these games exist, right? Though.
Yeah.
By the way, do you have like any mentor or any books or movies that sort of like serve as an inspiration for you? Like, you want to share with us that we can also maybe check it out and like try to get inspired?
If very specifically games development, Probably not, because just so many of them. I can't pinpoint like just one person. It's different kinds of games, different kinds of discipline, you know. But I guess if at this point, if I just want to point one thing that I want to like do a shout out, it probably be Jordan Peterson. So he wrote the book like the 12 Principles of Life, and reading that book, I think like my universe just split. Right, it helped me understand so much about how to live life in general. So like not just games development in general, just how to view life, how to live it properly in general. Yeah, that helped me a ton.
Here's a question then, like if you can restart like with this knowledge that you have, right? Switch back to like 20 years ago, like when you're 21, like just coming out of like, you know, NS. What kind of advice would you give apart from like, you know, saying like invest in crypto and just get out of it, or like or like Bitcoin, like, you know, lottery numbers, none of that. But what other advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Maybe it might sound a bit like cliche or what, right? If I really get this chance to talk to myself 30 years ago, I will not tell him anything, because I think everybody deserves this chance to experience life as it is. Yeah. And I don't want to rob that away from that guy. Because knowing what I know now, for that guy, it might mess him out even worse than myself right now, right? He might purposely not choose something that he truly loves, and he might not have the regret, but a meaningful kind of regret in a way that shape him in the future. So I will never change anything. I will still let him experience the life as it is, only to be for him to 10 years later sit here and tell other people to not join the game industry. But yeah, he deserves the chance to experience that. Yeah.
I don't want to change anything, like even the mistakes that I did, because for me as a dad, right, I feel if I change something in the past, I might not have my kid or the same person with me. I cannot put a risk to that, you know?
That is a sign that you did everything you could in your life. You have no regrets. You are not pinpointing some of the failures to something that I shouldn't have went to that company or what. That means you are living a very fulfilling life. That's a really good thing.
It's more of like, you know, accepting as well, like trying to move on from it, learn from it, instead of just like
So that means you don't hold any grudges to anything. I think that's a very important way to live.
People I hate though. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's always a what if life. For me, again, like after I got my kid, I was like, yeah, well, all the what ifs, I don't want to go back and change, because I'm just so scared that I might lose him, you know? I won't have him anymore. Yeah. It's like butterfly effect kind of a thing, right? All right, Morby. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for
it, man.
Yeah.
So I think our biggest takeaway from talking with Morby today is that, you know, game design is at its core an act of empathy. You have to understand how another person thinks, how they feel, and what they need to feel, like a sense of wonder. A huge thank you to Morby for sharing his studio, his process, and his like story with us. It's a reminder that behind every pixel and every polygon, there is a person trying to communicate something to you. So if you enjoyed this episode, you know what to do. Share it with your own clique, send it to the gamer in your life, or just someone who loves a story about passion and craft. You can find links to Morby's latest projects and the show notes below. As for us, we'll be back next week with another human story. Until then, keep listening and keep connecting. If you like our content, please press the subscribe button. Thank you. My face is showing with a brown background. Last night they were like sending me, don't wear brown. I was like, what about my face? Bro, you see just a shirt and you're talking to something like an empty void.